Route 40 began as the National Road, America's first federally funded highway, a highway through history.
This is a very powerful spiritual area because so many things have happened here over the years.
The future Route 40 was an Indian trail when a young Virginia colonel in the British Army named George Washington suffered his first and only surrender at a place called Fort Necessity.
When I moved here, I thought it was fascinating that the French and Indian War actually started here.
George Washington never slept at the Mount Washington Tavern, but many did on this passage to the west.
There were small taverns and inns where the stages would come through. It was a dirt road, and stop there for the night.
Some who passed this way fell in love with the green hills, the valleys, the slower pace of life, and decided to go no further.
It's the way we like to keep it right here, and we're mountain people.
Each has a different reason for loving this far-flung community called Farmington.
The sunsets up here are awesome.
I love being here with the winery and enjoying good times with friends.
I just love shopping at Nemacolin.
Take those side roads, and you'll meet the local people, and they'll tell you story after story.
From the splendor of Nemacolin to the stone house in the valley and that inn on the summit, from vineyards on the ridge to caverns down below, we'll find those side roads by taking 40 to Farmington. Conestoga wagons, creaking phantoms, rumble through the mist, following the path from past to present. Every year in May, reenactors trace the steps of pioneers bound for pastures yet unseen. The National Road, finished in 1818, carried settlers from Cumberland, Maryland to Wheeling, West Virginia. This early turnpike took wagons past the Addison Toll House and others like it. But before that, it was a narrow trail, expanded by British soldiers who hacked their way through dense forest. It became known as Braddock's Road, named for General Edward Braddock, who led the invasion of Fort Duquesne. The fort was held by the French on the point of land that would become Pittsburgh. Colonel Washington had hoped to find a westward route by water, but the Falls of Ohiopyle, which lure thousands of visitors and kayakers each year, made the passage of troops back then impossible. The only alternative was that footpath through the woods, where the Virginia regiment he commanded would come face to face with destiny and defeat. Reenactors echo that long-ago battle. The National Park Service has reconstructed the crude fort thrown up by British soldiers out of necessity, as the name would indicate, as French and Indian forces surrounded them. A visitor's center and museum tells the story of a region where sparks of conflict ignited a war that would engulf 5 continents. Park Ranger Brian Reedy says the French and Indian War was known as the 7 Years' War in Europe and beyond.
Winston Churchill once described the French-Indian War as the First World War. What begins in North America spreads to Europe, Africa, parts just off of South America, and even to Asia. The last battle is fought in the city of Manila in the Philippines.
The British paid a high price for their invasion of Fort Duquesne. General Braddock was mortally wounded in a forest a few miles short of his destination. He was buried in a secret grave on Braddock's Road. Uncovered by road-building crews years later, his remains were removed a few hundred feet to a little hill in Farmington, where a monument recalls his final stand. Rustic reminders of the past are a far cry from the regal splendor just down the road, created by '84 lumber baron Joe Hardy. Nemacolin Estates is named for the Native American chieftain who led early explorers down that trail of long ago. This is a place where visitors pamper themselves at the spa and couples celebrate their anniversary by zipline.
Bye. See ya.
After taking the zipline plunge, they might want to check out the zoo on the grounds of the estate. The lobby of the Lafayette Building once hosted a cuddly white lion cub named Prince Nemacolin. Of course, moments like this are soon outgrown. Or perhaps they'll play a round or two at the idyllic Mystic Rock Golf Course. But just a little further down Route 40, the resort welcomes visitors to Milwaukee Meadows. The 50-acre site is home to a Native American interpretive center and a sanctuary for one of the most sacred animals in Indian culture, the white buffalo.
I just always feel like he's telling me to go, keep going, get my message out there. I'll be right here.
Marcy McGinnis is the author of 25 books, many of which focus on her native Fayette County. They include a children's book called Message of the Sacred Buffalo, which was co-written by Hawk of the Lakota tribe.
Well, I'm the guardian for the white and the black buffalo, and my responsibility is to make sure that they're kept sacred and that they're treated respectfully, that they are taken care of.
We decided to have the buffalo themselves tell the story to a group of children here at the Nemacolin Woodlands, telling the story of their birth, of how they were born without fathers, virgin birth buffalo, and what makes them sacred.
The arrival of the buffalo from a former zoo in Farmington was celebrated by Native American elders on the grounds of Nemacolin. The male white buffalo was born in 2006, and the black female a year later. According to Indian lore, the birth of a white buffalo is a call for men to take responsibility for their families and their tribe. Hawk says the fact that these rare births occurred in Farmington comes as no surprise.
People don't realize really how important this area is and what all has taken place here. It begins, with Fort Necessity, because that was the beginning of this country. Those events led up to the French and Indian War, and the French and Indian War is what began the American Revolution, and so you have the United States today because of those events. It all took place here. This road that runs through Route 40, that's how they got to the west, right through here, right through Farmington. This is a very important place, a very powerful place, and people need to come.
There are some who say that power goes beyond the grave. One of Marcy McGinnis's books tells of ghosts said to walk the corridors of a longtime Farmington landmark, the Stonehouse Inn. First, though, some history. The Stonehouse was first known as the Fayette Spring Hotel. It was founded by Congressman Andrew Stewart, who gave Farmington its name, based on the farms that once dominated the landscape. From the old Victrola on the veranda to the vast stone porch fronting on Route 40, the Stonehouse hasn't changed significantly while hosting generations of guests, but the author tells of visitors who show up uninvited.
Quite often, ladies who are walking down these stairs tell me that someone or something is grabbing their ankle and tripping them, and we have reason to believe that it's George.
That would be George Titlow, who bought the Fayette Spring Hotel in 1909 and renamed it the Stonehouse. He passed away 31 years later, but the current owner has stories of her own.
One evening, Rhonda was making tea here with her sister, and she heard something. She turned her head, and there was a huge man standing where I am with a top hat, a three-piece suit, and an overcoat going hubba, 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 hubba to her, and her sister didn't hear a thing. So I'm pretty sure that Rhonda is a little ghostly herself.
Sounds as if George made another appearance. The outskirts of Farmington is home to another noted landmark. Kentuck Knob, built by famed architect Frank Lloyd Wright, can't match the tourist traffic of Wright's magnificent Falling Water in neighboring Mill Run, but by most accounts it's much more comfortable. Maybe it helps not to have a stream gushing through the basement. Back on Route 40, traffic zooms past one of the Farmington Chalk Hill area's oldest buildings, the Downer House.
This building was started in 1800, and it took 23 years to complete.
Ralph Guerriere still owns the house where he grew up.
We made all the bricks from a clay field, which was just down to the south of us.
The hole where much of that white clay was dug by Ralph's father is now a pond, a placid setting for the lodge at Chalk Hill.
The clay was basically what's called mottling clay and is all white. Thus, once they excavated it and they found all of this white, they said, well, that's Chalk Hill.
As for the Downer House, the age of the building is not the first thing most people notice as they pass by on Route 40. No, it's the fact that this is the home of a year-round Christmas shop. Though our visit takes place in the heat of July, a step inside is the entry to a different time and place. Enough Kris Kringles to fill a sleigh, and ornaments that could decorate a dozen trees.
We have Christmas ornaments from all over the world. We've got local things, we've got crafts, we've got glass ornaments, we've got things from Germany, fine-made things from Germany. We have things, of course, from Japan, but we've got things from the Netherlands, Brazil, South America. We probably have 75,000 different kinds of things in the Christmas shop. It doesn't matter whether it's spring, summer, or fall. You go in there, you can really feel a little bit of Christmas.
He inherited the Christmas spirit from his parents.
The room you're entering now is the living room. Over here was where we always kept our Christmas tree and did all the decorating. We had a fireplace that is over on your left-hand side that we burned constantly. It was a wood and coal grate, and that gave us most of our heat.
The front of the house received a lot of visitors back then.
This was the post office that my mother ran while we lived here for 25 years. One side was where all the mail came, and she put the mail up, and the other side was where the people came in and came to her for their mail.
The Christmas store grew out of his mother's antique business once she sold the family's kitchen table out from under them as they were having dinner. The family tradition is in no danger of ending anytime soon. Daughter Robin Amend is the manager of the Christmas shop.
It's fun to have Christmas all year round. Christmas is our favorite time of year.
Living a season that never changes can make for a slow pace of life, which suits Ralph Guerriere just fine.
We're mountain people up here. We are a little bit slower. We don't try to do the hustle bustle as you do in either Pittsburgh or Uniontown or anywhere else. That's our way of life. We try to smell the roses while you can.
This is a lightly oaked Chardonnay, and the Chardonnay is actually grown right up there on top of that ridge.
The slow pace of life was a huge change of pace for Sharon Clay, a dental hygienist, and her doctor husband when they made the move from Manhattan to Farmington in 1986. They bought themselves a hill and, with no prior experience, opened a winery.
We started out as growers interested in seeing what would grow here because no one ever had tried to grow grapes commercially here. We weren't even sure what would survive a winter here. We were told to forget it and try potatoes, but we weren't really looking to make vodka either.
They learned that planting on top of the ridge improved chances of avoiding an early frost. Christian W. Clay Winery is housed in a former dairy barn where the bottling takes place under the eye of the couple's son, Christian W. Clay.
I was always just sort of Johnny on the spot. If somebody didn't show up or something needed done, then that was my job for the day. So I've gotten to do just about everything, from planting the grapes to harvesting to pruning to bottling and, even selling the wine.
Christian W. Clay. We said, let's name the winery after him. He's an only child. That's like the one benefit of being an only child, is nobody's going to argue with you.
Aside from the name, I'm a little superfluous, I feel.
Not really. You have to do a good job when your name goes on every bottle.
Would you grab me a cold Washington Tavern White and a cold Summit from the back refrigerator?
The Christian Clay Winery reflects the history of the region.
And I named a few things after the French and Indian War, and then some after George Washington, and it became our theme to do the National Road Collection.
She tapped into her artistic talent by designing the logo.
With 3 clusters of grapes represented the three of us, and the vine that holds it all together is family and friends, because this was very much a labor of love, and family and friends were what it was all about.
They've made a lot of friends. A tour of the winery will be followed by the summer clam bake.
They were flown in yesterday from Maine.
Lobster is the main event.
Take your tails off and take your claws off.
Instructions are helpful for guests unaccustomed to such creatures.
Check out the size of this guy's claw.
Shannon Van Kirk of Pittsburgh is new to lobster, and Farmington itself, for that matter.
It's beautiful. I never knew it was out here, honestly.
Hills are beautiful, the wine is great, and the food is fantastic.
Now that's hitting the trifecta. When summer gives way to fall, it's chilly cook-off time, washed down, of course, by a glass of wine. Visitors get to try their hand, make that their feet, at squeezing grapes the old-fashioned way, for demonstration purposes only, and no one gets carded.
There's a total of 215 acres, and 15 are grapes. About 5 are apples, and the rest is hay.
But does this East Coast native with a taste for lobster miss seeing those ocean waves?
It's just like looking at the ocean, actually. At different times of the day, you'll be able to see different valleys and crevices. So it's an ever-changing scene, just like the ocean.
From this vantage, we see Maryland to the east, West Virginia to the west. The transplant from Manhattan has no second thoughts.
This is home.
Our next stop will take us from the top of a ridge to an underground cave. We enter Laurel Caverns by way of the Visitors Center.
We have a door here which leads to the cave, our
Straight
secret
into
door.
the cave.
Our secret door.
Caverns owner David Crawley takes me first through a man-made passageway that connects with the cave.
We are still in the man-made tunnel. This is about 100 feet long, connecting to, oh my goodness, here we have a small brown bat. We have about 2,600 of them use the cave for hibernation every winter.
Don't worry, they're harmless and very useful.
That little guy there could eat 600 mosquitoes an hour.
There's no shortage of hibernation space. Laurel Caverns is more than 3.5 miles long. It's Pennsylvania's biggest cave.
We're now back in the natural part of the cave, inside the old main entrance, and it's really right in this area right here where we found all the Indian artifacts that we have associated with the cave.
Railings and steps make the going easier than it was back when his grandfather, Norman Cale, bought what was known as Delaney's Cave. The absence of steps, though, didn't stop people from exploring on their own, often getting lost in the process. Norman Cale sold it during the 60s, and his grandson bought it back in 1986. Now he owns the caverns where he played as a kid.
We are now in a passage called the Hall of the Mountain King. I wanted to preserve this passage as much as I could in its original state. So how do I light a passage so people can go through it and not affect the walls? So I just hung all the lighting in midair with these chandeliers.
The professor of business administration at West Virginia University balances the need for visitors with a desire to keep this natural wonder in its original state. Even the 19th century graffiti is intact.
We have records of people getting lost in here as early as 1801. So accordingly, the cave is filled with names and initials that go back quite some time.
Laurel Caverns is open for tours April through October.
The cave is in 3 sections. The upper part where we are, the lighted, the easy part, represents maybe a little less than 1/3 of the total cave. Below that, going all the way to the bottom of the mountain, we have huge rooms. Our largest passages. Laurel Caverns is the only developed cave in the world where the biggest and best passages aren't a part of the guided tour. We do that to preserve the cave as much as we can. Our real function here is to preserve this cave for future generations. And by people coming and visiting Laurel Caverns, they help us do that.
An optical illusion lets visitors know whether they're up or down. Yes, there is a light at the end or near the end of the tunnel. From Laurel Caverns to the hills of Laurel Ridge, the Chalk Hill Farmington area really is home.
The mountain itself forms a bond. The population density is in one sense very, very low. We have a great respect for its history, and we all sort of have this sense of preservation. So the people in the land are very close here.
It's a bond cemented by Route 40, formerly the National Road, formerly Braddock's Road, formerly an Indian trail. Places where George Washington slept and didn't sleep.
George didn't sleep here either, although I'm sure he would have had he lived another 150 years or so. This grand old establishment on Summit Mountain, the historic Summit Inn, is entering its second century.
Groundskeepers plant the flowers of spring, serving notice that the Farmington landmark has begun another season. Guests will soon be swimming in the pool with a view, and staff members ready the rooms in anticipation of that first wave of visitors.
All our rooms are a little different, and that's what makes them a little more cozy. Your bedrooms in your home aren't all the same, so our rooms aren't all the same.
Owner Karen Harris says the Summit offers a touch of home, but how many homes look like this?
This is the grand staircase of the Summit. It's what you see when you walk in the main entrance of the hotel. Many weddings have been, pictures and photos have been taken on the staircase.
Karen's father, the late Don Shoemaker, arrived here as hotel manager in 1958. 5 years later, he scraped together enough money to buy the place and the history that went with it. This old landmark hosted the likes of Edison, Ford, and Firestone. Now the Summit Hotel became the Summit Inn.
I'm one of the regulars here. I have my own stool at the bar.
Fayette County Prosecutor Peter Hook recalls working here as a college student at a time when Karen's mom and dad began restoring what was then a dilapidated shadow of a distinguished past.
Without Don Shoemaker, we would not be sitting here, and this hotel would not be here. The man worked. Physically, mentally, he ran the show.
Now the daughter, who grew up here, continues the work her parents started. She recently replaced more than 30 pillars on a front porch like no other.
The Summit's one of the last remaining Grand Porch hotels in the country. The veranda has a 4-county view, and people love to go out there and sit, go out and have a cocktail, watch the sunset. Sunsets are absolutely phenomenal.
Young Karen was an only child with an incredible playhouse and a patient mom.
Because I was everywhere and climbing on tables and climbing under tables, and I'm sure she had her hands full with me. I did entertain a lot of the children that came to stay here, though, which was probably very helpful.
It's a trait that still comes in handy.
Getting to know people brings people back, and that's the key.
The Summit is a destination in more ways than one. 500 weekend warriors conquer the slope in the 25th running of the Hopwood to Summit Road Race.
It's not a race, it's an endurance event.
A boost from mom, support from little sister. It's good to have a friend.
Come on, Angie's sister!
Angie's sister gets a boost from Dexter Smart. He's run this race himself.
Good finish.
So has Bob Costello. The history of this Fayette County Rite of Spring dates back to a bet that a couple guys made over a drink or two or three at a tavern at the foot of the hill.
And they challenged each other who could make it to the top of the summit.
About 3 in the morning, they changed their clothes, ran up here and collected X number of dollars on the bet, and after I thought, hey, this could be an interesting thing, and that's how this race got started.
Running up the side of a hill, or even hitting drives at the 9-hole Summit Golf Course can work up an appetite.
Bill, I need 5 orders of crab cakes, please.
That's where Chef Ray Paris comes in.
Some say your crab cakes are the best in the USA. Is that true?
No, that's not true, Dave. They are the best in the world.
Okay, that's settled. Only question now is, do I eat them in here or, well, let's dine al fresco. If they're as good as they look, no, they're better.
I think this is the carpet that's in that room.
Hotel manager Anna Marie Collins is also a longtime friend
In 1974, I needed a job and I came to the summit.
Anna started here as a secretary for my mother right out of high school.
Worked that whole summer and met Karen.
We just really enjoy what we do, and we get so excited when we come up with a plan and see it through, and it ends up being a good one, always.
A new generation, a new tradition. Prom night for the kids of Geibel Catholic is just like Mom said it would be.
My mom always told me, she's like, you're going to love it up here. It's going to be beautiful, and she was right.
I could see us coming back for a reunion. Everybody can kind of reminisce. It would be nice.
And there is a hint of magic in the music Fred Adams has played here on a gig that spans 25 years. There's magic in that fire burning in the hearth, and a family tradition that began with a man named Don Shoemaker. That tradition, continued by his daughter, will someday be handed down to her daughter as well.
We never left, and we stayed, and he and my mom worked very hard and kept the place going, and I want to keep it in the family for another 100 years.
At the end of the day, most visitors are glad they took 40 to Farmington.